I'm Shannon Martin. A verdict tonight in the sex assault trial of Canadian singer Jacob Hogard. After 6 days of deliberation and many questions for the judge, a jury finds Hogard guilty of sexually assaulting an Ottawa woman, but he was acquitted of the same charge against a teenage fan.
Hopefully we get justice tomorrow.
Two survivors of sexual assault share their long journey to justice ahead of a critical court day tomorrow.
The grief is overwhelming.
Painful memories and pushing for change 1 year after a London, Ontario family was killed in a hate-motivated attack.
This is CBC Late Night News.
Thanks for joining us tonight. The former lead singer of Headley, Jacob Hogard, has now been convicted of 1 count of sexual assault causing bodily harm. He's also been acquitted of a similar count and acquitted of 1 other charge. As Susanna De Silva shows us, the verdict tonight comes after the jury repeatedly told the judge they were deadlocked.
The jury found Jacob Hogard guilty of 1 of 3 charges. He was convicted on 1 count of sexual assault causing bodily harm relating to a woman who was in her early 20s at the time, and not guilty on the same charge relating to a woman who was 16 at the time, and not guilty on a charge of sexual interference for an alleged groping incident with the same woman when she was 15. A verdict that the jury took 6 days of deliberations to reach, something experts say is common in sexual assault allegations.
One of the things this verdict showed in the jury's questions, and there were a number of them, particularly 4 that were about consent, fraud, authority, position of trust, is just how complicated and gray this area of law is.
For 5 weeks, jurors heard from Hogard and his 2 accusers. They both said they were raped violently by Hogard and said he degraded them and didn't listen when they said stop. The woman whose accusation led to the conviction spoke to CBC News about what she says happened in a Toronto hotel room in this exclusive interview.
All I remember was telling him how much he was hurting me. And he didn't care.
The jury also heard Hogard testify everything that happened in those hotel rooms was consensual. The defense suggested similarity in the claims of the women was a matter of his personal preferences. In her charge to the jury, the judge stressed the case came down to a question of consent. Twice, the jury, made up of 10 men and 2 women, told the judge they were in disagreement on some of the counts, with the judge urging them to keep trying. They followed up with more questions and then rewatched hours of testimony and cross-examination. The Crown has said it would be seeking a long sentence. The maximum is 14 years.
I would expect something in the range of 4 to 7 years would be my guess of a range.
What the jury didn't hear was that Hogard has now been charged with a new sexual assault from an accusation of a woman from Kirkland Lake, Ontario, who says she was raped in 2016. Hogard remains out on bail, but is set for a bail hearing on Monday. Susanna De Silva, CBC News, Vancouver.
Meantime, a painful anniversary tomorrow. It'll be 1 year since a London, Ontario family was killed while out for a walk, their attacker motivated by hate. Earlier today, hundreds gathered to remember the Afzal family and stand up against Islamophobia. Artelia Ricci is there.
For the Muslim community, Sunday was a time for reflection, but also deep sadness.
The grief is overwhelming. So much so that at times I am no longer recognizable to those who love me.
She's one of hundreds who gathered to honor the Afzal family. A year ago, while out for a walk, Yumna, Madiha, Salman, and Talat were run down. It was an attack police called hate-motivated. This memorial was led by young people.
I was left with a responsibility to ensure that no one would ever have to wake up in the morning to hear that members of their family were murdered the night before solely because of their faith or how they looked.
The Prime Minister acknowledged young people should not have to carry the burden alone and recognized that more needs to be done.
We also come together in commitment to make sure that tomorrow and next year and all the days in the future are also better.
Many here say they'll be watching.
To our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, I turned 16 this year. You have 2 years to earn my vote.
For some, the grief is mixed with anger at continuing anti-Muslim attacks.
We want action and accountability, and we have not really seen those words put into action from our various forms of government.
Students say marches like this one symbolize the walk the Afzal family never had the chance to finish. They say they hope it finally provokes change.
Racism is not okay, and it doesn't matter if people are like different skin colors or people like wear something different. We all have rights.
There are several more events planned to honor the family in the coming days, including a vigil Monday evening on the street where they were killed. Talia Ricci, CBC News, London, Ontario.
Well, turning to Brampton next, where it was a clean sweep for Doug Ford and the PCs in last week's election. That may have caught some by surprise, as the city has been NDP orange in recent memory. Dale Manukduk takes a look at the driving factor for change.
27-year-old Brampton East MPP Hardeep Grewal campaigned hard. Despite going against an incumbent in Guratin Singh with strong recognition, he was confident.
And we told him what we wanted to do for Brampton. We told him our vision. We told him how the Premier has been delivering again and again for Brampton over the last 4 years, and that message resonated.
That message included a desperately needed second hospital and a medical school. But all the chatter on the ground, according to Brampton-based political strategist Jaskaran Sandhu, was Highway 413.
Local campaigns felt it as well, that the 413 actually had a lot of support. This is a primarily a trucking and transportation town.
He notes that while the NDP lost 3 ridings, everything would have had to go right to get reelected.
So the NDP had the best showing they ever had. The Liberals were completely tanked out. The PCs didn't do well locally during that election. And Sarah Singh still only squeezed through a victory.
But how much can be extrapolated from what unfolded in Brampton this time around?
Brampton is one of those places that is an island unto itself in terms of the politics, in terms of the issues. Even if you go back to the last federal election and you take a look at who ran and who didn't and who won and who didn't, it's clear that ties to the local community mean a heck of a lot.
Sharma says it's also important for candidates to understand the dynamics of multi-generational homes. Grewal credits living with his grandparents, who are still under the same roof today, for being able to communicate to thousands of voters.
When I go talk to people, I can talk to them in Hindi, I can talk to them in Punjabi, I can talk to them obviously in English, and I can talk to them a little bit in Urdu, and that just comes from being with my grandparents from a young age, learning our native language of Punjabi, and then being in the community and slowly grasping onto other languages.
He says now that he's the MPP-elect, he represents all of Brampton East. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Brampton.
Well, still in Brampton, where a man is dead after an early morning shooting.
Officers arrived on scene and located a male victim suffering from apparent gunshot wounds. Life-saving efforts were attempted by our officers. Shortly thereafter, he was transported to a trauma center. Unfortunately, this male victim was pronounced deceased at the hospital.
It happened near Dixie Road and Steeles Avenue East. Peel police say the call came in around 4:15 a.m. The homicide unit has now taken over. The only detail about the victim being released so far, he's a man. Multiple vehicles were seen leaving the area at the time, but no word yet about any potential suspects. And in Toronto's West End, a man in his early 50s died after an overnight shooting. Toronto police say it happened in the area of Eglinton West and Oakwood Avenue just before 4 a.m. The homicide unit is now appealing for witnesses or for video footage of the incident. Well, no residents were injured. A fire in Mississauga has damaged 36 different homes.
When we realized how many units and how many people this was impacting, we then moved it up to a 3rd alarm. And that was simply because we needed a lot of resources, a lot of fire personnel, a lot of fire apparatus on scene.
The chief says while the investigation is ongoing, the fire likely started on a balcony before moving inside and spreading. She adds a My Way bus was brought in to take residents to Meadowvale Community Centre. The Canadian Red Cross is securing them temporary shelter. A candlelight vigil was held in Brampton last night to remember Punjabi artist Sidhu Moosewala.
Wherever he went, he was a superstar there. And so we're all here today to remember him, to remember the way he, stood up, the way he changed the music industry, and his contributions to Punjab as well.
The vigil was organized by some of his closest friends in Canada. There were prayers, a moment of silence, as well as speeches. The 28-year-old was shot dead in Punjab last weekend, according to police in the Indian state. His death has sent shockwaves among his fans. Sophia is here with our first look at the forecast. Another comfortable day, you know, not that sticky heat yet, but it was still kind of lovely.
Yeah, it was not too bad. Brilliant sunshine in the early part of the day. Things kind of fell off the rails and clouds moved in and some showers into the evening. My theme for the rest of my time with you tonight, Shannon, will be that of whether or when or if you will have to water the grass in the next 36 hours or that vegetable or flower garden, or when or if you may have the potential of some flooding rainfall. It all depends on the timing of a really slow-moving cold front Monday night into Tuesday and where exactly it is going to set up. Let's backtrack for a minute. Some showers going through as we speak, anywhere from Goderich to Niagara Falls right now. Into the overnight period, that chance could continue, but for the most part, Monday will be a day like it was today. Breaks of sunshine and some spotty showers. It may even be a little bit warm for some of you into the southwest who will really be into the warm sector. For everybody, Barrie and north, you're along that warm front and you'll have a day of heavy rain coming up. I'll tell you more about the storm risk for the rest of us Monday evening, Shannon.
Okay, thanks, Sophia. We'll see you soon.
See you in a few minutes.
Well, after 4 days of celebrations in London, the Platinum Jubilee weekend marking the Queen's 70 years on the throne has wrapped up. As Chris Brown shows us, it ended in very royal style.
Much of the long thank you to the 96-year-old Queen took place without her physically being there. But credit Jubilee organizers for creativity. Sunday, a hologram of a younger Elizabeth II was beamed into her Golden State coach.
I keep mine in here.
And Saturday, she popped up in a video with Paddington Bear, even tapping out the beat to the opening song of the tribute concert. Prince Charles, the heir apparent, along with Prince William and Prince George, who are also in line to be kings, watched the day's colorful parade along the Mall with smiles, although again it was George's little brother Louis who seemed to have the most fun. Many, however, did find Charles's tribute to his mother Saturday evening moving.
Your Majesty, Mummy, thank you from your family, the country, the Commonwealth, in fact, the whole world.
The British government handed out money for more than 16,000 neighbourhood parties, like this one in West London.
I think it's just wonderful for us all to be able to get together again after COVID.
With the, Eastern European war, it's been terrible, but it's lovely to be able to celebrate something wonderful and momentous.
The celebrations also marked a break from politics as usual in the UK, but that truce is now ending.
The parties and Jubilee celebrations have given a respite to Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who's facing serious political challenges. The coming week could be a defining one for his career.
Johnson may find out if enough of his own MPs have rebelled to trigger a confidence vote sparked by parties at his Downing Street office while the country was in a COVID lockdown. One of his chief allies spent her Jubilee making the case to keep him.
We got the vaccine out and he went straight into the war in Ukraine. There are very few prime ministers who've had to deal with as much as he has.
But for now, the Jubilee had one last surprise, an unexpected balcony appearance by Her Majesty, smiling, waving, and clearly pleased that another major milestone in her unprecedented reign was a success. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
And in Toronto, a small tree planting ceremony to honor the Queen's major milestone.
More than 95% of the population of this city were born or have come to this city since 1952, since she became our Queen. And to celebrate this unprecedented anniversary, the city has planted 70 trees, many of which are already planted, and we will sort of finish the job today, Her Honour and myself and the Deputy Mayor, one tree for each year of the Queen's reign.
The event was at Roundtree Mills Park in North York, where the other trees were planted. As you can see here, they finished with the 70th tree, which is also an oak, the city's new official tree. Queen Elizabeth has visited Toronto 7 times, the first in 1951, the most recent in 2010. Well, stay with us. We'll be right back. 36 years to justice. It has been a long journey for 2 survivors. Tomorrow, a judge will hand down a sentence for the man found guilty of kidnapping and sexually assaulting them. Raymond Burke has been representing himself in court. The 2 women, Nicole Murdoch and Angela English, sat down with us earlier this spring when they gave their victim impact statements in court. In the mid-'80s, both had been working in the sex trade when Burke attacked each of them about a month apart. He then fled to the U.S. He was arrested south of the border for committing similar crimes, and he spent decades there behind bars. Well, he returned to Canada in 2015, and a court battle has raged on ever since. The Crown now asking for a 24.5-year sentence. Here's more from our conversation with Angela English and Nicole Murdoch. So the best possible outcome tomorrow is?
Let him just die in jail, you know. I can't see him getting out and being in jail this long and not wanting to do it again.
So this is our fight back. It's like, yes, it took 36 years to justice, but I'll be damned if he does less time than it took us to get here. Like, that will infuriate me tomorrow. Yeah.
You guys are hoping for a life sentence, but if he doesn't get life, is it still a victory?
I think I already feel like I have gotten my justice. I was able to get my story out, help other women, see him in jail, do my victim impact statement. Even seeing him now doesn't even faze me. After that, reading that victim impact, I keep saying the best thing he ever did was go to the States and get caught there first and spend all those years, 33 years in jail in the States. Like, thank you. I mean, because had he gone here, I don't even think he would have been convicted for one.
No, I think
back then it would have been. Oh no, it's our fault because of the what we were doing and who knows how we were dressed. It doesn't matter. He would have been let go. But now it just so happens that it happens in the time of the Me Too and women start standing up for their rights and stuff. So he went to the States, spent those 33 years in jail. So that in itself is karma for me.
As long as we take the like I said, shame game out of it. We lend a stronger voice to anybody that comes with these offenders or sexual assault or domestic violence, and we change the laws and how they're received and how they're dealt with. We have to do that. So if he does 20 years and every parole hearing, I will be there. I will be at every single one to advocate why he should not be allowed out.
Yeah. Somebody said to me, "Oh, it's finally over." I said, "It's not going to be over. I'm going to. There's going to be probation hearings, and I'm going to be there. So no, it's not over. It's not over till this guy is dead and buried."
It may seem vulgar or harsh, but that's the reality of it.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Well,
I have no pity for him. No pity at all. No. He didn't have pity on us when he was doing what he did to us.
And she's the only person on this earth that gets what happened to me that night, because she actually went through the whole same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's hard, but I feel like, I don't know. There had to be a bigger picture.
Yeah.
So and again, I think that's another thing we want is to invite any woman tomorrow, or anybody that has succumbed to some kind of sexual abuse or domestic violence that wants to be a part and know that myself and Angela are a voice for those women tomorrow, and for those who have been silenced. And
we're here to support them.
You've heard from people that say they want to do that.
So some people that have reached out to me, there was a woman here that something bad happened to her years ago, and her and her friend. And I told her she's more than welcome to join us tomorrow.
It's good to know that people are gaining strength from, something bad. One door shuts, another one opens. So something bad, something good can come out of.
So if we had to go through this,
I'm glad
to save a whole lot of other women or people that succumb to this kind of violence, I'm here for it. I wouldn't have done anything different. If it helps, if this makes a change, and this is what we had to sign up to make sure it happens, then yes. And that's what we had to do. Then I'm glad we did it for them.
Now, like you said, it's become kind of like a movement or conversation.
People are starting to get enough guts to say it's okay, like it isn't my fault, that I can talk about what happened to me. And it is healing, it does. It takes the power away from your pain when you're able to express yourself and able to, to get it out and talk about it. It definitely takes the power away from it. It helps you heal.
A group of Toronto women competed in a grueling 321-kilometer cycling race that was done almost completely on gravel.
I feel really proud. I'm proud to be representing women in gravel. I mean, there are a lot, but we are one of the only female women gravel teams in Canada. And so it was really exciting, and people seemed really excited to have us there. When we were riding along the course, lots of people were like, yeah, it's so great to see women out. And there was lots of high fives and cheering us on.
The Toronto Hustle team was one of the only all-female teams competing in the Unbound Gravel in Kansas this weekend. Clark says it took her 15 hours and 55 minutes to complete the race. She adds this is way more physical than cycling on pavement. The team's goal is to inspire other women to challenge themselves. Another cycling event in Toronto, the Bike for Brain Health, a fundraiser for the Baycrest Foundation. They're working to defeat dementia and improve brain health, especially for the elderly. Cyclists rode anywhere between 25 to 75 kilometers along the Don Valley Parkway, which was completely closed off to traffic. I do feel like the weather this morning was perfect for that.
Yeah, it's such a cool vantage point to be able to look at the city from that perspective, and it looks strange not seeing cars in that stretch.
It does,
yeah,
but it was
really,
probably
really
beautiful
neat.
for sure.
Yeah, and it felt super warm early in the day too as well, so perfectly timed event if you could have asked me. What about tomorrow? Really similar to how today set up. You'll have about 15 hours between sunrise and sunset, but not all of it will be sunny. We talked a little bit earlier about the chance for some spotty showers, maybe even some late day storms, which we'll unpack in a minute. And also some heat in the southwest. Now, for the rest of us, it's the timing of this warm front we want to watch. Everybody, Barrie, Parry Sound, north up to the Sioux, could have heavy rain throughout the day. Everybody to the south, it won't be until the evening and overnight hours that we watch for the cold front to line up, and then we could see some heavy rain, and some localities could even see some localized flooding. I wouldn't be surprised, Shannon, if we saw a few rainfall warnings come out throughout the day. Monday as well. Really depends on where that cold front lines up, and then we could have some consecutive storms that could drop quite a bit of rainfall and even have some embedded lightning as well. A bit of a nocturnal alarm clock for any of you light sleepers out there. After all the energy is wrung out in the atmosphere Monday night into Tuesday, we have a pretty even keel rest of the week though. Seasonal and a little cloudy and gray though. Not a ton of sunshine for this upcoming work week, Shannon.
Okay, we'll take the showers for the gardens. That's not
Take
too
what
bad.
we can. Yeah, no watering this week.
Okay, thanks, Sophia. Well, that's our show for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you again next weekend.